This is the before I live.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Well, this doesn't seem to be on. Good morning, those of us joining us for the first time, and those of us joining us online, and those of us here in person. It's good to be together. We'll begin with our centering thought. I say to people that I am not an optimist because that, in a sense, depends on feelings more than actual reality. We feel optimistic or we feel pessimistic. Now, hope is different in that it is based on the ephemerality of feelings, not on the ephemerality of feelings, but on the firm ground of conviction. These are the words of Archbishop Desmond Tutu. We will now begin our morning worship. You have to talk really loud.
I'll try my best. Hello and welcome to the First Church and Parish in Dedham. We come together in this space, which was the homeland for Native people, served by the Puritans who built this church. We wish to pay respect to those who live and breathe in the Massachusetts and Wampanoag territories. I hope this process before we begin. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, and wherever you are on your journey in life, we welcome you in this place. I am Claudia Leone, and I've been a member of First Church for many, many years, and I'm part of the ministry community. If you are visiting us for the first time, we hope you will sign our guest book out of the vestibule of this building and get a welcome packet from our usher, Andrea Gilmore. After service today, the social hour will take place in the dining room of the parish house, and everyone is invited to stay and visit with one another. Please note that we are not locking the doors to the parish house during service to provide a safe space for our children. If you need to access that building during service, please see the usher today, and today is Andrea Gilmore. so she can let you into the building. As always, we have a lot of announcements in your order of service, including signing up to help out at our holiday fair, which will take place on Saturday, December 2nd, 9 to 2. Signing up for Sunday ushering, to light the chalice, and to bring flowers to the service. And lastly, our Friday Folk Coffee House will continue on November 17th at 7:30 p.m. in the auditorium of our parish house, and with return of Chris Beard and Laura Ridorelli, who are part of our concert series last year. Please take the time to check out all of the announcements, and now let us begin our service.
Oh God, my heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? My hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? My hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? My hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? Oh God, my hands are ready, and what am I gonna do? My feet are ready, and what am I gonna do? My feet are ready, and what am I gonna do? My feet are ready, and what am I gonna do? Oh God, my feet are ready, and what am I gonna do? My voice is ready, and what am I gonna do? My voice is ready, and what am I gonna do? My voice is ready, and what am I gonna do? Oh God, my voice is ready, and what am I gonna do? My spirit's ready, and what am I gonna do? My spirit's ready, and what am I gonna do? My spirit's ready, and what am I gonna do? Oh God, my spirit's ready, and what am I gonna do? My heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? My heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? My heart is ready, and what am I gonna do? Oh God, my heart is ready, and what am I gonna do?
I want to light our chalice today for all those people who are suffering in our world. May they feel the light of hope and possibility. May they find peace and comfort. And may our world move away from violence and oppression to acceptance and love. And I light our green sanctuary candle for all the ways we strive to be a more sustainable congregation, as including all the LED lights that are in the chandelier, and using soy candles and 100% recycled paper for your orders of service. Our opening words this morning are a poem by Lucille Clifton titled Study the Masters. Like my Aunt Timmy, it was her iron, or one like hers, that smoothed the sheets of the masters, poets slept on, home or hotel. What matters is he laid himself down on her handiwork and dreamed. She dreamed too. Words, some Cherokee, some Maasai, some huge and particular as hope. If you had heard her chanting as she ironed, you would understand form and line and discipline and order and America I invite you to sing with me hymn number 12 in your grade hymnal, hymn number 12, O Life That Maketh All Things New. An offering to support and sustain the ministries of this church will now be given and gratefully received. Well, we have a new microphone, so I'm going to use it. But I want to remind you that the children get to stay in church today, and remind the children that if they start feeling a little itchy, that there are toys in the entryway, so you can go out with a parent and pick a book or a coloring page or doll to play with it while you're in church. This is an intergenerational service, and for the adults, I want to say we do intergenerational services about once a month now, and some of that is so that our children can feel really comfortable in the meeting house, because we want them to grow up and come to church. And we realize that if we just send them always off to the other building, they may not grow up and want to come to church. So that's why we at least once a month have children's day for worship. I do want to tell you a story this morning, so I'm going to ring our bell and invite you to bring this sound into your heart and your mind and your spirit so you can open your listening ears. Story called "The Magic is Inside of You." We all have all kinds of magic, but this is the biggest magic you have inside of you. There was a girl, her name was Maggie, and Maggie was a really nice girl. She was a really nice girl. She was nice to her friends and to her parents, and she was happy. She liked her life. And she had an imaginary friend named Miranda. And Miranda helped Maggie by saying all kinds of nice things to her through the day. She would say, "Hey, that was so nice the way you said, can I help you, Mommy?" And she'd say, "You're so smart. Look how you got an A on your test. Oh, you know what? It's okay that you missed a few problems on that math test because, you know what? Tests just tell you like how much you know, and you just have a little more to learn. That's okay." And so her friend, her imaginary friend, really helped Maggie feel good about herself. But sometimes when Maggie wouldn't eat enough or she didn't get enough sleep, she would have another voice inside of her named Midge. And Midge would say, "Oh, you're so stupid. I can't believe you did that. Oh, you can't possibly pass that math test. You got 2 problems wrong the last time. You're going to get 6 problems wrong now. You're just not smart enough." And sometimes Mitch would say, "Your mommy doesn't really love you," or even, "She's not really your mommy, you were adopted." She'd say ridiculous things to her. And Maggie didn't want to listen to that voice, but sometimes when she was really tired or sort of hungry, Midge's voice was really loud in her head. And so one day, she went to see her mom, talk to her mom about it, and she said, "You know, I have this one friend, imaginary friend that tells me good things, and this other imaginary friend that says all these negative things. And when I'm sad like this or tired, I hear her so loud I can't ignore her." And her mother said, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to tell you something you didn't know. You have some magic inside of you. You have magic inside of you, and that magic is love. And you can love that voice inside of you that's saying all these negative things. You can say to Mitch, 'Hey, why are you feeling so cranky? Mitch, why are you feeling so sad?' And you can even ask your other part to give her a hug." And Maggie tried this, and she had her happy part give her sad part a hug every time she said something negative. And her happy part would ask, "Hey, what do you need?" And her sad part would say, "Oh, I'm so hungry." Or, "Oh, I'm just exhausted, I need some sleep." And then Maggie would know what to do to help her part go away. And from that point on, she could always tell her sad and cranky part, give it what it needed, some love or some affection or some food or some sleep, so that she didn't have that voice got quieter and quieter and quieter until all she heard was, "You're such a great kid. You try so hard. Just do your best. That's all that matters." So that's what I want you to think about today, is how you have the magic inside of you to quiet the negative voices you have about yourself. And Just give yourself some love. And now we'll enter into the time of prayer or meditation as is your practice. And I invite you to bring your attention to your breath. We begin by breathing in peace and breathing out love. Breathing in peace and breathing out love. Let us be grateful for all the silences in our lives, for with them we may more completely experience sound. Amen.
Hello. So I'm going to be doing a reading called Optimism by Helen Keller. I have a little bit of a source. Most people measure their happiness in terms of physical pleasure and material possessions. Then they glimpse a visible goal with which they have set on the horizon, how happy they would be. Lacking this gift or that circumstance, they will be miserable. If happiness is to be so measured, I, who cannot hear or see, would have every reason to sit in the corner with folded hands and weep. If I am happy in spite of my deprivations, if philosophy of life, if in short I am an optimist, my testimony of creative optimism is worth hearing. As sinner standing and meeting to testify to the goodness of God, so one who was called afflicted by in gladness of conviction and testified to the goodness of life. Once I knew that death where no hope was, and darkness lay on the face of all things. Then love came and set my soul free. Once I knew only darkness and stillness. Now I know hope and joy. Once I fretted and beat myself against the wall and shut me in. Now I rejoice in the consciousness that I can think, act, and attain heaven. My life was without past or future. Death, the pessimist would say, a consummation devoutly to be wished. But a little word from the fingers of another fell into my hand that clutched to emptiness, and my heart leaped into the rapture of living. Night fled before the day of thought, and love and joy came up in a passion of obedience to knowledge. Can anyone who has escaped such activity, who has felt the third of glory, be a pessimist? Now for the second and final reading. It's Atlas of the Heart by Renee Brown. Research shows that one way to minimize disappointment is to lower our expectations. True, optimism can sometimes lead to increased disappointment, and I believe these findings are accurate. Still, there is a middle path, a way to maintain expectations and stay optimistic that requires more courage and vulnerability. Examine and express our expectations. There are too many people in the world today who decide to live disappointed rather than risk feeling disappointed. This can take the shape of numbing, foreboding joy, being cynical or critical, or just never really fully engaged. Sometimes, when I'm in one of those moods where I just want to pull the covers over my head and stay in bed, and there are many of those days during quarantine, I promised myself that I would get less excited about things so I feel less disappointed. Then, I always remember this interview I did with the man early on in my research. He was in his 60s, and I'll never forget how he looked at me when he said, I used to think the best way to go through life was to expect the worst. That way, if it happened, you were prepared, and if it didn't happen, you were pleasantly surprised. Then, I was in a car accident, and my wife was killed. Needless to say, expecting the worst didn't prepare me at all. And worse, I still grieve for those wonderful moments that we shared, and that I didn't fully enjoy. My commitment to her is to enjoy every moment now fully. I wish she were here now, so that I would know how to do that. I don't like the vulnerability of getting into good things, or the uncomfortable experience of examining and expressing my expectations, but I consider it more about discomfort than pain, which I heard in this man's voice. Thank you.
Please join with me in singing hymn number 6 in your grade hymnal, and number 6, Just As Long As I Have Breath. Optimism is the foundation of courage. Life is a good t-shirt for many, many years. You can tell it's kind of worn out. As I put it on the other day, I wondered, is optimism the foundation of courage? You know, sometimes when you look at something long enough, it stops making sense. People even say, when you say I love you over and over again, it loses its meaning. I am not of that school of thought. I love all of you. I love you very much. Love you, love you, love you. I have said that for almost 17 years now, and I just really say it over and over again because I don't want you to forget it. Contrary to what Archbishop Desmond Tutu proclaims, I believe optimism is actually a way of training our brains to trust in the progressive betterment of the future.
Yes.
Optimism trains our brains to believe that the glass is always half full instead of half empty. When you choose to look on the sunny side of the street over and over again, when you become a Pollyanna of sorts, it keeps you from ever forgetting that life is good, even when things don't go the way you want them to. In our opening poem, Lucille Clifton illustrates how even in the mundane we can find hope, calling on our history and our ancestry. We can do this sometimes with poetry and song and literature, tapping into bigger truths of optimism and hope than our present circumstances might allow. Helen Keller must have had a great deal of optimism to accomplish all that she did after losing her sight and hearing after an illness when she was just 19 months old. Sure, Anne Sullivan, who had lost her sight at 5 years old, helped deaf-blind Helen find her way to Radcliffe. Some might say that Anne being blind and Helen being deaf-blind, these two were unlikely to achieve much of anything. On the other hand, their perceived obstacles may have been what made their joy of accomplishment and their optimism for the future even more likely. Brene Brown, in her book Atlas of the Heart, draws from recent literature that points to the fact that those who never know disappointment or setbacks in life may not be able to sustain an optimistic spirit in the face of calamity. But those who've loved and lost or faced adversity are more able to hold on to optimism when life lets them down. It occurs to me that eventually every life experiences loss, so eventually we can all become optimists, if that's true. So perhaps the power of optimism comes from our broken places. But can we train our hearts to optimism even without facing any hardship? My mother used to remind my sisters and I to keep our expectation low of other people so we wouldn't be disappointed. Much of the literature supports my mother's claim that expectations lead to disappointment. It seems to me if you can train your brain to lower your expectations, you can also train your brain to think optimistically and believe that the best in yourself and in other people. In my own experience, I found that expectations are really wily things. When we expect nothing good to happen, we often project nothing good from ever happening. For example, if I love trains, let's say I love trains. Does anybody here love trains? I was expecting more kids.
Enzo loves trains.
Yeah, so Enzo loves trains. Well, let's say Enzo's love for trains goes into his high school years and he decides he wants to be a renowned chronologist. But he doesn't believe he's smart enough to go to college. And he doesn't really believe he can study trains. It just seems out of reach to him. So nothing ever goes beyond that ephemeral interest, and he never becomes a trained expert. When we lower our expectations, and as our centering thought suggests, hold no hope that we can achieve our desired outcomes, we stop working towards our goals. Holding to an optimistic belief that I can ride in the Tour de France but never getting on my bicycle is an unrealistic hope. It's almost as unrealistic as thinking I'm going to win the lottery if I never buy a ticket. Of course, winning the lottery is supposed to be as possible as getting bit by a shark. Expectations must be wedded to optimistic action, without which they are empty hopes and desires, and they lead to disappointment. Expectations play a pivotal role in this kerfuffle between optimism and hope. While treading the delicate balance between hope, and disappointment, expectations shape our perceptions of the world. The wisdom of setting reasonable expectations allows room for growth without setting unrealistic goals. When we lower our expectations of others, we remove from them the support they need to grow and change. As a teacher, I found it better to set reasonable expectations and celebrate growth towards those goals. Archbishop Desmond Tutu's perspective introduces the profound role of faith in nurturing the human spirit. His unwavering faith in a higher power can be a guiding force through life's tribulations. Yet we could rest our hope in God, but not in God, but in a brighter future or the goodness of the human race. The blurred lines between a religious and a more humanistic type of hope and optimism raise the question, could hope work without optimism? Are not optimism and hope intertwined with our expectations? And doesn't that make the foundation of courage? Without the need for a deity's hand in fate, optimism may be the mindset that allows hope for a better future to arise, making optimism about the future a true foundation for courage to make change. When I was a teacher, I had a 13-year-old student who could not read when he came into my classroom. He also came with a pile of paperwork telling me that he would never learn to read. Instead of setting low expectations and believing the paperwork, I began to slowly and methodically teach him phonics. With daily practice, it wasn't long before he was reading at grade level. And when he returned to public school, he joined the Latin club, and he graduated with high honors. Expectations, whether low or high, play a big part in success and accomplishment. I believe in these dispirited times, it is essential that we foster an optimistic spirit. We can do this in 3 essential ways. First, we must teach our children not to lower their expectations, but to foster realistic expectations, ones that can be celebrated, and help them celebrate working towards those meaningful goals. We must teach our children and ourselves that heartfelt yearnings are the guides for action that will help them reach their hopes and dreams. We can model this by setting our own optimistic goals and celebrating even small successes along the way. Second, I believe we must hold up stories of an optimistic future and believe in the possibility for change. We can do this collectively as a church by trusting in the goodness of every person and treating each other with respect and with dignity. Yet we can also do this for ourselves by remembering always the goodness of life and holding up the possibilities for change instead of creating our own obstacles to growth. Finally, we can say yes to life by turning our brain from the negative naysaying part and engaging our inner voice that says yes over and over to life. We can make optimism the foundation of our courage when we turn our minds to trust in the goodness of all life and hope for the future ahead. We must turn off the negative thoughts. You can tell I've spent a week listening to Fox News with my father. We must turn off the negative, naysaying thoughts that limit progress to change and open our hearts to the transformation that is available to us every moment of our lives.
Oh, me.